Welcome back to the CDAMP course. This is main session 1, meeting Python in Anaconda. We're going to use Anaconda as our main tool, but in this session, I'm going to present many different ways you can run Python and how you get Anaconda installed in your computer. If you already have Anaconda, I recommend you to watch the first few minutes of this presentation of session 1 and skip the part where I'm gonna install it to part 2. But stay here because maybe you learn something about the Python ecosystem before you move on to session 2. The objective of this session is to get you ready to go. So you're gonna see your Python running in Anaconda, where you can Anaconda Jupyter, where you can create lines like this and say something like 2 plus 2 and run it and get the result, create new lines, changing it to markdown and say this is my own comment and run it and you get the comment. So here we go. This is Anaconda Navigator, where we're gonna meet Jupyter here inside Anaconda Navigator. You can search Google or visit anaconda.com products/distribution. I recommend you go into and search for Anaconda Python download. And this is because they may change where you can actually find, so you don't trust the video you are watching. And normally it actually finds whether you are using Mac, Linux, or Windows computer, and you already download the version that they think is the best for your computer. In case you have any doubt, you can scroll down at the bottom here and pick the one that you think is the most appropriated for your computer. So go ahead. If you don't have it, download Anaconda in here. It will take a few minutes to download. So at the end of the video, as I said, we're gonna go and install it. However, now we start with the second tool, that is Microsoft Store. You can also use Python directly by entering into Microsoft Store. You go here at the bottom and you search for Store, and you can click on Microsoft. And here we can search for Python. And it gives us several options of Python. You can use the one recommended here is 3.10. There is a 3.11. By the time you watch this video, I recommend that you get the latest version. The only thing is that we are in 2022, the end of 2022, recording this video, and 3.11 is still unstable. So maybe there is an unstable version of Python out there that you prefer to be one before that, so that this is the one you should get. However, don't install Python the way we're gonna install right here. If you have it and you're using Visual Code, you can do the course using your own structure. This is just a one way of getting Python that I'm showing you. In Anaconda, Python comes with several libraries all together, and you don't want to go about, and you don't need to go about and install every library on its own, on your own. And you can go and grab it all like a distribution. There you get Python with a lot of libraries already selected for you. And Anaconda is special for data analysis, data analytics. So we like that one. That's why I'm recommending that we go with Anaconda. But you can install using this version here and install the packages on your own. Another way of getting Python installed is going directly to python.org. Of course, if you're not using Windows, you don't have Microsoft Store. So how do you get Python installed? If you want to have Python installed on your own, you go to python.org and download there. So if you visit python.org, you have an option here, Downloads, where you can see the version of your computer, the operational system of your computer, Windows, Mac, other platforms, Linux. So if you go to Mac, you can download the version there, 3.10. Again, the same story here. It's already telling you download this one for Windows because I'm using a Windows machine myself. So Again, this is if you want to install Python and then install the libraries on your. Now, if you don't want to install Python and you want to start using Python, you have versions that allow you to do that. First option is pythontutor.com. In this web, pythontutor.com, you have the option to run Python, JavaScript, C, C++, and Java. As you can see from the name here, Python Tutor comes from Python. So the creator was actually making it a way for people that doesn't have Python installed to run it in online. And then he actually started with other languages afterwards. And here you can go about running your Python, just saying print 2 plus 2 and a equals to 10. And then you say visualize your code here, and you can run step by step. It's a very good tool for learning Python, basic Python, not the one we're going to use it to in our sessions because it's more data analysis that we're going to use libraries. But if you're learning basic Python, this is a good tool for you. Becoming a little bit more serious, if you want to replace Jupyter Notebook for something online that can run Jupyter Notebooks, we can go to colab.research.google. Google Colab, we're able to create new notebooks. And in a new notebook, we're able to run the 2 plus 2 sign here and execute. That will take a little bit of a while and say, this is my first notebook. And this is a comment, oh, I picked the wrong one. In the case of Colab, I needed this to include a new text. And then I put the text and I run it with Shift Enter or Command Enter if you're using Mac. So this has just calculated here. And during the course, if you have any issue using Anaconda and Jupyter from Anaconda, you can always upload your Jupyter notebook here to Google Colab and follow the course. This is especially important if you're using a company's computer and you don't want to install anything in that computer without asking for authorizations. But if you're able to install it, I recommend very strongly that you use Anaconda Jupyter to follow the. Last option is Python Anywhere. Pythonanywhere.com allows you to run scripts and also to host web pages. So I have my own web page here. I've created one application called attendance.pythonanywhere.com, and this is hosted using Python in the backend in Python Anywhere. How do you go about and create your own account? You go to pricing and create a beginner account, put your details so you're able to log in here and use your Python Anywhere account. I'm gonna make a login to the page, and if you go to consoles, you can start a console here. It will take a few seconds. See, loaded the batch, you can start Python here and will tell you the version of Python that you have. My version here is a very old one, it's 2.7, that I'm just showing you that I don't recommend you to use any Python version that is below 3 something. Everywhere you go, you may use it and may desire to use Python 3 something. If you're starting a Mac computer or a Linux computer, it comes with Python 2.7 pre-installed. So careful, don't use that. There are many reasons, especially for data analysis, that you don't want to do that. One of the main reasons is the number in Python 2.7 can only go up to several millions, where in Python 3, the number can be as big as it can. So don't use 2.7, the ones that come pre-installed in Linux and pre-installed in Mac computers. In any case, I'm in Python here and I can do 2 plus 2, or I can do a print hello, hello world in here, and that will do the job. And we're ready to go out of Python here and get out of the console and get out of Python anywhere. Now that we've seen all the options, let's go and install the preferred option that I recommend to you. That is Anaconda. Should have downloaded already Anaconda with a version that corresponds to your computer. So you can double click there. If you're using Mac or Linux, you have other options and you can go and see the material. I'm just demonstrating here for Windows people. You can go and run next, agree. I do recommend that you click all users if you are the owner and admin of your own computer. If not, stay just as just me. If you're using a computer from company, that avoids requiring um, the admin permissions. So if you were using the install just me, you would get something like this. If you are using all users, you would require permission, you say yes, and then you would install it in a different directory, program data. So you go next and hit install. Install and wait for a few minutes until it's complete the installation, and you hit finish. Once you have everything finished, I'm not going to install because I already have it installed here, you are able to open Anaconda Navigator. In the case of Mac users, you have Anaconda hyphen Navigator. That's the same. You open Anaconda Navigator here. First time you open this, I recommend that you update Anaconda Navigator. Just for the case of this video, I am not updating right now. I'm going to say remind me later. You should be seeing a window like this where you have Jupyter and Spyder. That will be our main tools, the main options that we're going to use. We're going to end up with Notebook, but I want to make the point of the differences between those two. And then you also have Visual Studio Code that probably you have to say install to get the options. So you can use Visual Studio from within Anaconda Navigator. Here it's already available because I already hit install. So you can install if you are a user of Visual Code. And in the case of, I'm gonna launch Spyder here to explain what is Spyder and what is it good for, and then differentiate it with Jupyter Notebook and why we're going to use a Jupyter Notebook for our use case in data analysis. So I'm going to dismiss here the tour. And what is this thing? What is this Spyder? Spyder is an idle. It is something that makes several options where we have a console here where I can run my Python. So when I run my Python, I get 2 plus 2 equals to 4, print hello world, and I get the response in here in the console. I can also put that print here. I can select, hit Control C or Command C and save it here. And I can say, oh, by the way, print 2 plus 2. And then this is in a python.py file that I can now save it. I can go and save as a copy here, save it somewhere in a document, and I can put here my for Python example 1. And now I can run this program. It will say execute in the current console, and you have the result. Basically, if I go now to the directory, where I put it, documents here, and I right click this guy and try and drag it and drop it here, I will show me the file. What I want to show you is if I open with another, with Notepad, for example, this is just a text file. It doesn't have any comments that I put, or I put a comments here, but it doesn't have the results. It is just simple text file. This is what a .py is. Now, even if I'm using Spyder, or if I'm using Jupyter Notebook, or if I'm using Visual Code inside my computer, it always get down to Python to execute, to run my program. What I mean is, in my case, I have Python inside users, Anaconda, tree, and this is where Python application really is. This is where the Python application really sits in my computer. So whatever idle I'm using, it always gets down to this python.execute.exe to run my Python code. If you're facing some issues on knowing where you have your Python installed, you can open Anaconda prompt, and here you can, in Windows, you can put where Python, and then you get the location of your Python in Anaconda. In this case, by my tests, I already installed it via Microsoft as well, but you should only have one option here, that is the first Python. This is where it actually runs. In here, you could potentially run Python and say 2 plus 2 here, or print hello world, and you get Python running in your machine here. And this, if I'm using Spyder or if I'm using it here, it all gets down to that little python.x executable. And this is what we call interpreted language. We actually put some scripts, and then who actually executes and reads my scripts and runs it is this python.executable here. If you are inside here, you have to exit with parentheses, okay, by the way. And you can also ask for where Anaconda is, and it will tell where your Anaconda is installed, by the way. If you are using Linux or Mac, you have to say which Python, okay? That will tell you where it's installed, but it doesn't work in Windows. Finally, why do we actually use this tool? It's because if I run this code, if I select it and say run this piece of code here, I can click on Variable Explorer, and I can see that variable A, B, C are integer type, they have size 1, and they have these numbers, these values here. So this is actually good if you're debugging the code and so on and so forth. So if you are actually programming a function, preparing everything, so this is what it's used for. Otherwise, we finally go for our final option, that is Jupyter. So just hit X here, off we go. You come back here, and let's hit launch in the Jupyter. By the way, if you are using Windows, you have the option to go down here at the bottom and search it on the search box here. Jupyter, careful because it spells with a Y instead of a I, and then you start it directly from here. Right, good. So now that we are in Anaconda, what is Anaconda Jupyter? What can we do? Let's go to documents, create a new Python tree here, and then we say, this is my first Jupyter notebook, and I can turn this into a markdown, and if I hit run, this becomes a comment. Now, if I say 2 plus 2 and I hit run, it calculates. If I say now print hello world, I can then say Shift Enter and run as well. I can run it here or run with Shift Enter, and this is what we have. We can now click on title here and save it as my first Jupyter. Rename it, and I'm gonna close it. Save it, make sure we save it and close it. And now what I want to show you is that if I reopen that file, my comment remains here, my results remain here, and everything that has run in the past, the results are here visible. And this is a very good thing for showing my boss, for example. However, if I now go to Documents and try to open my first Jupyter in with Notepad, for example, what I will see is a very, very weird document that is an enriched document. It has comments, it has things there. It's not a TXT file, it's not a text file. And now we are ready to import our first pre-done Jupyter Notebook. See you in session 2.